What's like the craziest house party you guys have been to?
Okay.
Oh, God.
I've got like two, and they were both in university. Because of course they were.
Yeah, of course they were.
Do you have one?
I mean, I can only really think of like.
I have one. If you want me to go first.
There's a lot of like poop stories, but I'm like.
More poop.
Yeah.
No!
Oh, this is where the poop stories are coming out.
All of my poop stories come from house parties.
Yeah.
What? Who's what?
Like, okay, so in Australia, oh my God, now that I think about it, this was fucking disgusting. But
Oh no.
Oh no.
but do you know what a shoey is?
That's where you do the beer out of the shoe.
Yeah,
Right?
so
Yeah.
it's this thing
Sounds
that's very
horrible.
typical in Australia because there's nothing else to
Why
fucking
is this
do.
typical in Australia?
Typical house party
The
shit you do
local
in
cuisine.
Australia. Yeah. The local cuisine, the shoey. But essentially what it is it's kind of like shotgunning in America, right? Where shotgunning is like, if someone's holding a can of beer, they're like, oh, shotgun it. So you poke a hole on the side and then you kind of drink it, the whole thing like this. Shoey is that, but way grosser. You say, hey, do a shoey. And then you go around. The tradition is you go around and find whoever has the dirtiest fucking shoe.
Oh.
It's not just any shoe. It's whoever has the dirty shoe. It's either you do your own shoe or you pick whoever's the dirtiest
This is
shoe.
already starting horribly.
And then you grab their shoe, you pour the can of beer into their shoe, and then you drink the beer from their shoe. And that's a shoey.
disgusting. That's
And I mean, it's not that exciting of a story, but my friend did a shoey once, and he got his friend's shoe, and he didn't realize until after he finished the shoey that he had stepped on his dog's shit.
so he had like a firm grasp.
He had a firm grasp of it, and he finished it, and he's like, he flipped it over, and he just saw like shit just smeared on the shoe.
Disgusting.
And like normal people will be like, oh, what the fuck? But because he was already so hammered, he's just like, yeah. And everyone was like, yeah. It's fucking nasty. That's the only thing really. And then other than that, it's just like a lot of like vomit stories, the usual that you hear at house parties.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, that was probably the grossest,
God, that's
but also
disgusting.
the most hilarious.
Oh my god. What about you, Colin? What's the
I mean, I've been to like a few crazy house parties. I think most of the crazy house parties I've been to has been in Brighton.
Yeah.
So that's for like my hometown. There are some parties that are just like, kind of like, that scene from American Pie where you see that scene, you're like, there's no way that exists in real life. There's no way this crazy shit's happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been to a few parties where it was actually that crazy. So I remember one time where there was this party who we'd heard from a friend who heard from another friend who heard from another friend. No, that kind of thing. That
Sounds like a beating to a horror story.
that there was a party happening in the middle of this field.
Yeah.
I'm just like, there's no fucking way this is true. So we had to drive into the middle of fucking nowhere, and I was like, this is a scam. We're gonna drive there, and there's just gonna be like. It's just gonna be like a drug dealer den, or this is gonna be like we're gonna get fucking murdered.
Yeah.
And so we drive to the middle of this field, and this, keep in mind, this is all pitch black because it's like the middle of the countryside where we were driving to. So we couldn't see shit. And then we go there, and it was basically like a festival. Somehow they had managed to, because this guy who had owned the farm, right, had just told a few of his mates that he was going to have a party.
Right.
And then mates started telling mates, and then
That's always the worst.
yeah, I don't know how it spread so wide, right?
Jesus.
But I feel like it's because no one else was having a party that weekend, and people were just really wanted to go somewhere.
For a party here, lads.
I need to do a party.
And yeah, somehow there was a fucking festival, and then things started getting weird. They started setting things on fire, right? So they went into his house, right? And then they took out this sofa, and somebody thought it would be a fun idea to just start burning stuff. So it started off.
Why is there always one person who wants to burn?
I don't know. There's always one fucking pyromaniac, right? And so first it starts with a chair. So they get a chair out. Right. And I'm like, okay, let's set this on fire. And it's like fucking caveman mode activates. Like whenever you start a fire, for some reason, like you see fire, and then you're like, oh, fire, and then like you start fucking dancing around it, like, oh, fire. It's I don't know why. Whenever there's a fire in like a house party and there's alcohol involved, you just forget, the lizard brain just takes over, and you just like circle it and just watch it. And then so they burn the chair down, and they were like, what can we do next? What can we do next?
No.
Next, let's get a table. So out of nowhere,
just take this guy's whole fucking IKEA collection. Like, Jesus Christ.
So then they take a table, they set that on fire. Then as that's on fire, a fucking sofa appears out of nowhere, and then they fucking just chuck the sofa in.
Oh my God.
And then we were just like, at the back of my mind, I'm thinking, man, the host must feel so fucking shit. Like, I don't know where he's probably plastered out his mind.
All my furniture is getting burned.
And then as the sofa is on fire, we actually see the host just walk out and he just looks at his sofa and like his fucking IKEA furniture collection that's on fire and just goes, yeah!
What if all along he planned this out, right? Because in the UK, if you want to get rid of stuff like that, you got to pay a lot.
Yeah.
So maybe this was all a ploy just so he could get new sofas and chairs and not pay to remove his old ones.
Yeah.
There's always also that
big
one
brain.
guy in any kind of situation like that where something's put on fire where they're like holding an alcoholic beverage and they're like, I wonder what happens if I pour it on. It's like, this will probably put it out, right? It just makes the flame bigger. It's like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. Okay. Every time. Every fucking time.
Animals.
Yeah, fucking
Man,
caveman.
There was so you know how I said I lived in like a student village?
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah.
It was basically a whole area that was just houses. And they had also 2 really big like apartment blocks. And they were disgusting. They were like the cheapest apartment blocks you could imagine. And one time this doesn't exist anymore, this place. They tore it all down. So yeah, Swansea Student Village, RIP. They said like, oh yeah, there's going to be a party at one of the apartment buildings. They didn't say which floor or anything. So I thought that was kind of weird.
Yeah.
And then we turn up and like half of this apartment building, there's like bin bags on all the windows
Right.
and stuff.
Right.
And then you start going into this building and it's like been turned into like the set of The Raid. Like there's just shit everywhere. Like there's mattresses on the floor and shit, like all over the place. And some of the rooms are open and have like nothing left in them. And I'm like, what the fuck? And meanwhile, everyone is like drunk as fuck. There's like people doing drugs in certain places.
Yeah.
People in the kitchen. There's always that one guy who's in the kitchen making food for some reason at all these parties. Like this building is literally like falling apart and one guy's still in there.
I want a pizza pocket.
Yeah, anyone want any beans? Any beans for anyone? It was just weird. And it was like, the further up you went, the like more mess it was. And I remember going to one floor and there was just like beds all over it and people lying down. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Right. That was just weird. And then I just didn't enjoy it because I'm like, what is this?
Wait. So what was was it like an orgy floor or like what?
I didn't.
How did you
stay
get
long
invited
enough.
to this party?
It was one of those things where everyone knew it was happening in the village apparently. So we all just turned up.
The village.
Word around the village is that this building.
And I was like, why did you put I remember I asked one of the guys, like, why they put bin bags on the windows? And they were like, oh, so they can't see what's going on inside. And I'm like, who? Who can't see? Because I think putting blacking out all the windows is suspicious.
Just giving it away, right?
Yeah, that's what I thought. And also a bunch of people migrating towards this one thing. They completely fucked it though. I don't know what happened to it or how this was even possible. I'm sure one of my universities.
I mean, the fact that it's gone now is what
true. And then there was another party which is really weird, and it was a house party, like just a normal house, and had a bouncer, which I thought was really weird when I went at a house party. And I went
it was fucking loaded.
Right. So it was a 3-story house, not that big, but I thought, wow, this is fucking weird. There's a bouncer and he had a list. And I said my name, he's like, you're on the list. And I'm like, when did I get put on the list?
What is this list?
Yeah, I was like, who's arranging this list? Because my friend invited me, so he must have put me on the list. And then I got inside. The first floor just is like a big living room, just has one small couch in the corner and like 100 people just standing around this like very average looking laminated like wood floor. Just the people just standing around. I'm like, what the fuck? Why is there a bouncer? And then you go up the floors and it starts to get weird. As of course it does whenever you go up floors in these weird house parties. I remember I found out that I asked my friend, he was like, oh yeah, I paid the bouncer like £300 just for tonight. And I'm like,
Why?
What would you expect to happen?
Are you that worried? And then, okay, to be fair, and then I realized why he was that worried. Because the second floor was just people having sex.
Of course.
That's actually pretty standard.
That's pretty standard. That's pretty
Like,
standard.
yeah.
I was like, whatever. And I was like, okay, maybe I'm going to chill. Because the bottom floor was just really loud. And I was like, maybe I want to go to the floor where people are just chatting.
Yeah.
Right? So I go to the 3rd floor. And that's where it gets really fucking weird. Because one of the rooms is like, what I thought it was like 5 beds, 2 bunk beds. And instead, they've just put all the mattresses on the floor. I don't know why people are doing this.
Yeah.
All the mattresses were on the floor. And like people were making out. And one of them had like, was doing like a needle. I don't know what he was doing. And I was like, oh, this is weird. This is really fucking weird. I am not going here. And so I was like, I asked my friend, I'm like, there's got to be somewhere else we can go. I do not want to stay here. There is someone doing what I think is heroin upstairs.
Yeah.
Like, can we not do this? University is a mess.
Jesus Christ. I never had any like that. Because I hung out with good Christian boys.
Well, no, so do I. But sometimes you go to a party, right? Because you hear about a party, right? You don't know what it's going to be like till you get there.
Yeah.
Until you see someone doing like hardcore drugs upstairs and you're like, I'm not supposed to be here. I don't do that.
I need to go to church.
Yeah, with the house parties, the more stairs you go up, it's like the closer you get to hell. It's like the steps towards hell.
It's literally the raid.
It's like the opposite, right? It's like the further up you go, the closer you get to hell.
It's awful because I mean, you have no way of knowing in the UK what the party's going to be like until you get there. And if your friend's like dead set on going, you're like, all right, fine.
Because I've been to as many like dud parties where you go to and it's like, this isn't a party. This is a house gathering.
Yeah.
With like prettied up alcohol.
Right. You never know. A party could mean like a come dine with me, 4 people making dinner for each other experience, or it could be, a fucking orgy going on upstairs. You don't know until you get there.
Jesus Christ.
No one knows. My parents are probably terrified. They're like, what was Connor doing in university? I was not doing anything, mother. I was just, you happen to go to places and they fucked up.